Okay, and on this next clip we're looking at network topologies. Now this is something that we've talked about in class quite a bit, so hopefully you'll be quite au fait when we talk about things like star topologies and mesh topologies, for example. The topology is basically, it's just the arrangement of computers and network devices in either a physical or logical structure. That's what a network topology is. And there are lots of different configurations depending on the scenario and the environment within which you want the network to operate. The four main ones are star, mesh, bus and ring. And we've talked in class about how you might use a bus network within a car, for example, or an aeroplane, and so on and so forth. So let's talk about the star topology first of all. At the centre of a star network is a server. Okay, we have a star network here in school. Each compatible device has its own connection to the server, either wirelessly or through an Ethernet cable wire. As you know, the computers that we use in class, they're connected via Ethernet cable. And what you also know is that along the way, those Ethernet cables probably meet up with a switch. More on that later on. The server directs data transmissions between devices on the network. It's also where files will be stored and software might load from. Some of the advantages and disadvantages of a star topology. Well, some of the advantages are that if one of the devices fails, as long as it's not the server or the switch, everything will be fine. The rest of the network will continue to function without any problem. It's easy to expand the network by adding devices until the capacity of the switch or the server is reached. Problems can be identified quickly, particularly localized problems, and data can be directed to specific addresses via the central server, and this reduces network traffic. You don't have to worry about, like on a bus network, for example, where you've got the terminators. You don't need that sort of technology in a star network. The disadvantages are that if the server fails, the whole network collapses. And we know from talking about it in class that you need extensive cabling if you want a wired network, and that comes with cost implications. Connecting computers in a mesh topology is where every device within the network is connected not only to the server but to every other device as well. And network traffic is shared between the devices. Some of the advantages of doing this are that you get to share the network load, and that can help the network run more smoothly. If one device fails, the network will continue to run as all of the devices are connected to all of the other devices. And adding in more devices will not affect the speed of the network. Some of the disadvantages are that managing that sort of network requires a high level of network expertise and skill, and it can be even more expensive to set up because of the number of devices that are required. Earlier on in the clip we talked about bus and ring networks. A bus network is a central spine of network cabling, and then you connect devices up to that central spine. An advantage of this is that it's often used in small or temporary networks. So, for example, a small environment might be the car or the aeroplane versus the size of a school building where you've got many devices. And a ring network has all of the computers connected in a circle. Data is transmitted around the circle until it reaches its destination. An advantage of this is that data travels quickly in one direction, but the disadvantage is if one of the nodes, one of the computers fails, then the whole network fails, and that's never a good thing. So just to recap on network topologies, the two that you need to know most about for your exam are star and mesh. We've talked about how a star network has got a central, the centre of a star network is a server where all of the devices connect to, and data is transmitted between devices from there. We've talked about the mesh network where every device is connected to every other device, and therefore you actually remove the need for a server in that sort of scenario. Some of the advantages of the star topology are if one device fails, as long as it's not the server, everything else will keep running smoothly. A network can be expanded quite easily by adding more devices. We talked about being able to problem solve if the network has an issue and so on. Some of the disadvantages of the star topology were that if the server fails, the whole thing collapses, and you need a lot of cabling and a lot of technical knowledge to set up a star network. With mesh, the advantages are that because all of those devices are all connected up to each other, they share out that workload of the network, meaning that it might run even more smoothly than a star. If one device fails, the other devices can pick up the slack and the network continues to function. And adding more devices doesn't affect the speed of the network, because when you add another device to a mesh network, you've added more capacity to manage the data as well. Disadvantages are that managing the network requires a high level of network expertise, and of course it's going to be really expensive to set up. That's network topologies in a nutshell. Thanks for watching.